Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dribbz Talks podcast. We're bringing it to you real, raw and uncut. A safe place where we can talk about anything and everything. So like, share and subscribe. But most importantly, keep it locked. Everything's gonna be just fine. Everything's gonna be okay. Just take one step at a time. That's what the leaflets say.
This is IC3, and you're listening to the Dribbz Talks podcast. Keep it locked.
Yes, people, welcome back to another episode of Dribbz Talks, the podcast where we look at society's most talented individuals, bring them into the hot seat to share their stories of how they got to where they are today. And with this, I bring you a man who has quickly proven as a worthy contender in the world of creativity, and a man who brings us a bag of stories. His name is Marcus Hart. Welcome to the show, bro.
Alright, bro, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. Are you feeling ready for this?
Yeah, man, this I'm not gonna lie, I did like a podcast like 5 years ago, and like obviously first and foremost I want to say like big thank you to having me on, because for me, I'm someone who's always been behind the camera, and I've been doing this since I was about 16 years of age. And to actually like start speaking about my stories and doing this, like I moved to Shrewsbury back in 2015, and obviously we've kind of known each other for about 7-8 years just through like seeing each other at events, and like obviously we built a relationship around that as well. And yeah, podcasts were always like for me it was always like a big thing to go on and actually speak about it. I think it's just the way that I've like grown up, just like I've always like kind of worked in the background, so like actually putting my face out there and doing stuff like this is a challenge for me, to be fair, but I'm happy to do it. And first and foremost, like I've got such utmost respect for you, bro.
Thank you,
I think that's why I've come on this as well. I don't think I'd do this with anyone else, because obviously I've known that you've been in the scene for like 10-20 years,
20
and it's
years
like
now.
yeah, it's crazy. And I don't know, you can just tell that like your passion and energy, like any event I've been to, just the energy is just, it's always the same every time. And I think that's the great thing about like proper MCs as well. Like, I was just going to make a quick comment about them.
Of course, go for it.
When I first started my career through like drum and bass was like sort of like the pinnacle of like how I sort of like got into the creative arts, really. And I think I was 18 at the time when I first worked with SAS and Skibber and Storm and MC. Obviously, rest in peace.
Rest in peace, man.
To those guys. And I remember like the best thing about them was not only were they humble guys, and at this point as well, I was so early on in my career, I didn't know too much about them. I was like, I think I was like 17, 18 at the time when I first worked with them. And obviously, I first got into drum and bass through just like going to my cousin's house when I was a kid and listening to just like Skibber on like, I remember when they'd record like audio sets for drum and bass events. And that was like my first introduction to like drum and bass, probably when I was like 13. And then being like 18 and working with those guys, and like when I realized who they were, I was like, these guys are like some of the biggest like drum and bass artists in the world, literally. And I just remember how humble they were and the energy. And I think like seeing you and Monchi, I think like the drum and bass scene is like something else. It's just people in that era are just like, not only are they humble people, but they're so talented. And I think that was like the first like initial sort of stepping stones into drum and bass. And that's why I just wanted to
it's cool, man. That's
why I wanted to come on here with you as well, just because I just like seen you guys for so many years doing your thing, and it's just like there's so much energy, there's so much like passion and respect, and that's like all I really ask for when I work in these industries, because it's just like, it's the best thing ever, really.
I appreciate that, man. I really do appreciate your words. And like, as we were discussing before we came on air, like, you know, you mentioned about being grown up and growing up and not really talking about the things that you do. Like, the amount of stuff you've done now, Marcus, like there comes a point within your creativity and just the graft that you put into these overall things. And I'm not just talking about the drum and bass, I'm talking about a lot of things in general. You know, sometimes you deserve your flowers, bro. And I hope by some of the listeners that listen today, you know, you get your flowers, bro. Do you know what I mean?
man.
Because sometimes you deserve them, whether you think you need them or not. Do you know what I mean?
It's hard, man. Like I've worked in like so many scenes over like a 10-year period, and it's only really recently, probably literally in the last 6 months, that I've actually been able to like realize just like how much stuff that I've actually done and how many people I've been involved with. Working from all sorts of scenes in a creative manner or one or another, from rock music to drum and bass to the boxing scene to so many different areas of work. And for me, it's always just because I loved it. I love boxing, I love music, and I think that was like the main thing that like just drove me into those scenes. And it was literally in the beginning as well, like anyone who's in like photography and video, it can be sometimes like the most hardest scene to break into, just like music, because you're constantly having to prove your worth like week in, month out, to sometimes even get these like smaller gigs. But for me, like in the beginning, I did this stuff for free for years just because I just wanted to be involved and I just loved music so much. And I think that can definitely have a toll on you as well, like because like when you go from doing something for years for free to then getting paid for it, it changes the relationships of things. And sometimes like you have to like ground yourself and humble yourself as well, because like I don't know, money's not everything, is it?
No,
it's
no.
Yeah, and if you come from a certain background as well, like money can be very hard to like navigate yourself with. And especially like in the early stages, like when you start doing this stuff, it's hard. Like no one like teaches you about like pricing and what you should be like charging for like certain events and your time and your effort. And it's hard because like at the end of the day, like I remember when I first got my first like paycheck from photography, I was probably like 19 at the time and I was living in Bristol, and I just remember being like, oh my god, someone wants to pay me to like take photos. it was just a mind blowing. And then like I don't know, going from that to like where I'm at now, like I appreciate you saying like, but it's hard as well. It's hard because you're constantly on it. It's like like the music as well, or being an artist or a brand, you're sometimes taking on like 10-20 jobs at once. Like it's not like you just clock in and clock out. Like you are doing literally like everything sometimes.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah, but I think anyone in these scenes, like you wouldn't do it if you didn't love it.
Exactly.
And that's why I love to see as well, like 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years, like some of these people, like they've been in the scene for so many years, and you just know they wouldn't be doing it like if they didn't love it. And if money comes and it comes and goes, like it's just one of those things, isn't it?
It is definitely. Now obviously this podcast has been a long time coming, so firstly, as I said, Marcus, I want to thank you for making the effort to come down and jump into the hot seat. You know, it's something a little different today to my listeners, because as a standard, the Dribbz Talks podcast, they're known to be strictly audio only for this moment in time. But with yourself obviously doing what you do, I just thought it was only right as a one-off that we utilize your talent and the equipment and make something our first podcast to have cameras present.
Yeah, of course, man.
Now, as much as I'd love to jump into everything that you're currently up to, I think it's really, really important to take it way back to the start. And it's proven that your experiences as a child can shape the morals that you carry today. Yeah. So with this in mind, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about your childhood. So where did you originally grow up, Marcus?
So I grew up in Worcester. Worcester. I started playing around with like cameras probably when I was about 12 or 13 years of age.
Would you say you had a happy childhood growing up in Worcester?
Yeah, I did have my parents, like we're working class people. We come like I had a great childhood. They gave me like everything that I needed growing up. I can't say anything bad about that. I just I dealt with a lot of things that some people even to this day like are still surprised when I tell them, because but I was, I guess what you'd say, a special needs kid. So I dealt with, so I've got, I'm on the spectrum. So I have dyspraxia, which is a hand-eye coordination thing, which basically affects like lots of different things really. Struggled a lot with school. Very much struggled a lot from school. I think the schooling system in state schools. One thing that as well, like, it took me to my late 20s as well to realise that like school experiences, like, for different people, and how like some people would have teachers that would really like zone in on what they wanted to do, and that was like help them sort of get to where they wanted. But my school experience was awful, to be honest. When people say to me like, oh, school was like the best years of their life, I'm always like, I don't know why, because I was like so happy to get out of school, man. Like, as soon as I finished school, I did okay, like, in certain aspects, like GCSEs, like maths, English, did really badly at that. I remember, like, my RE teacher was like, oh, if you took your exams like vocationally, you'd probably get A stars, but because you're so bad on like paper, like, you're gonna fail. And I just remember like I don't know, I'm not an academic, basically. I've never been an academic. I've always been into my sports, my music.
I mean, how many years has it been roughly that you've left school now?
Yeah, 14 years ago.
Okay, so
yeah.
14 years. Isn't it crazy that, like, you know, you mentioned that about the teacher saying that if it had been verbally, you would have, you know, done so well.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny that them things still stick in your mind?
Yeah, man.
And that's where I go back to, on a previous podcast, I mentioned this. So I was quite a nuisance at school. Later, in my later years, I then found out that I had ADHD.
Yeah.
But obviously back then, I mean, I'm 38 now. So back then, it wasn't even a thing. You were either a problem child or you were a do-gooder.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, for me, through school, was a problem child. It was always like, you know, and I'm going to do this so listeners can hear. It was always, come on, focus, snap back into it, stop daydreaming.
Yeah,
you know.
It's always the exact same experience for me. Like, and because of that, because you're like a problem child, you'll get thrown into the worst of sets where you may be dealing with other kids I never want to say bad kids, because like, people have different experiences. You never know what's going on at home.
Let's say challenging kids.
Yeah, challenging kids, which will then, if you're dealing with special needs and you're not having the attention that you need, you're thrown into a mixed batch of people where it then may be escalating the problem that you got, and you're not actually having the attention that you needed. And it was very much like that with me. I remember as well, like, I'm left-handed. I like, it's subtle things that I still remember. Like, I remember, like, when I was at school, like, being told not to write with my left hand, and like, my teacher would actively get me to write with my like right hand, even though I was like left-handed. And it was like lots of interesting school experiences, which, as you say, they still like,
they do still stick in your mind.
Yeah, they do.
That's what I'm trying to say, really. Like, on the couple of weeks before I fully finished school in year 11, and I had been a little shit from year 7 to 11. I remember they called my name up one by, like, each of the person in the year. They called us up to the front. We'd have to shake hands with the teacher, and we'd have to go. You know, they'd say a couple of words to us, then we go and sit back down. And I can remember so distinctive. There was a teacher called Mr. Cottrell who was in Rockwoodine Secondary School, which is the school I went to, and I'd always got on with him, but he knew of me as a bit of a problem child, a bit of a little shit in school. And I remember going to the front, shaking his hand, and it was like a packed assembly, and this man stood there in his oversized suit, and he gripped my small hand so tight and said, "You are going nowhere in life, lad." Yeah. He looked me square in the eyes. He said, "You are going nowhere in life." And I was shocked, man. I went and sat back down with this certificate, feeling so deflated. And I would love to bump into Mr. Cottrell now and go, "You, with your oversized suit, that said I would go nowhere in life." Yeah. And give myself some flowers. Like I mentioned to you, Marcus, I'd say, you know, I'm working with kids. I'm a foster carer. I've worked with special needs. I advocate for mental health. Like, basically, up yours for not believing in me.
Literally, I had similar experience, man. A woman called Miss Norman. It was like little things in school as well. Like, I do remember having two teachers that were like so zoned in and felt like they understood me, and her name was Miss Gibson, and she was actually an art teacher.
They got Miss Gibson.
Yeah, and she was a singer. And this is the thing as well that I find interesting, that I'm just coming across more and more, that people in the arts, like, you're finding people who are like, it's so common that people who are in the arts suffer with ADHD, or they're on the spectrum in some way or another. And it's like, it's funny because, like, back in school, like, the only people that I felt like related to me were my music teachers. Yeah. Everyone else just like, I felt like I was like tarnished with like the bad brush, and it was like, did have a big effect, and it was exactly the same. I had teachers that would just like say that like I was never going to achieve anything. I'd never go anywhere. I would always just be like a naughty person, and yeah, man, it does have a big effect on you. But like, you know, like it's very easy to I don't want to say like be the victim, but I think if anything, I went through a period where I really did suffer with my mental health. And yeah, like growing up on the place that I did, I got in with the wrong people at times, and I really did go for a period where I probably didn't acknowledge that I was dealing with a lot of issues that were driving my decisions. But you know what, like now that I look back to that though, like I wouldn't change a thing, because it's like parenting as well. Like my dad was like tough on me as a kid, but like when I was a kid, obviously, like you don't understand that your dad maybe or your mum is treating you in a certain way because they're trying to be a force of good in your life. But when you're like a teenager and stuff, like you may look back at that and you may think, oh, I hated him at the time. But if anything, I look back to that now and I love him for it, because
Exactly.
It's made me such a strong man. I don't think I would have been able to deal with half the things that I've been with if I hadn't had that sort of childhood.
No, I get that. So how would you describe the, sorry to interrupt you there, how would you describe the area that you grew up in? Do you think that area, because you mentioned about getting in with the wrong crowd, do you think that area taught you some valuable life lessons?
Yeah, 100%. As well, like I grew up with, I had really good friends that were, mixed up in all sorts of issues. And I'm going to shout out my friend Mikey Real. He lives in Australia now on the Gold Coast. He's made such a great life for himself. I'm so happy, you know, like that's the thing as well, like having friends and stuff come and go. Like if you truly love that person, like if you know they've like come from a bad situation and they go and do amazing things, like I've got so much love and happiness.
Everyone wants to see their friends do well. Come on.
Yeah, 100%. And it's just interesting as well. Some people who've kind of like had the rough starts can make the best lives for themselves, and like that's like a constant inspiration for me.
100%. Well. What do you think was the hardest part about being a child?
I think just navigating like myself and like realizing that, as I said, like I'm 32 now, and I think it's only really been the last like 4 or 5 years that I've sort of acknowledged the fact that I even have like ADHD or I'm on the spectrum. I try not to really zone into it too much, and I did get diagnosed when I was a kid, when I was about 6 years of age, but a big thing for me wasn't to like zone in on it when I'd be dealing with like difficult points in life, because if anything I just try and see it as a bit of a superpower. And I don't know, I just when stuff gets hard, that's like when you need to lock in and you need to push forward. Otherwise you just I don't know, like as you say, like I appreciate it, you're such like a advocate for mental health as well, because like there's a lot of people that don't talk about it, and nowadays as well with social media as well, like there is a lot of positive things that have come from social media, but there's also a lot of like negativity.
100%.
And I always want to make sure that people who like seeing like certain scenes and things are getting the real picture and understanding that you know, it's entertainment, you know. A lot of it is entertainment. It's there to be enjoyed and to like let go of I don't know, your day-to-day
reality. Yeah.
And
but it's also there to educate, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%.
And that's why we need to do these things. And that's why I say, like when I go into these schools to talk to the kids and do motivational talks, this is the first thing I'm saying to these children. I'm saying, you guys sat in front of me here. I mean, the last one I did, there was 500 people.
Yeah, that's crazy, man.
Bro, it's the first time I'd done it, man. 500 people,
I did see, that's crazy.
Me and a Bluetooth speaker. Wow. Anyway, as soon as I got my cap on and my shades, it was Dribbz mode. I was good. I was good. That little mask went on. I was good. Anyway, I said to these kids, you guys sat in front of me, you are growing up in a time where mental health has never been so important. I mean, how amazing is that? You're like, when I grew up in that, because I went to that same primary school that I returned back to, the other week, and like, there was no importance of speaking up and saying how you feel. There was none of that back then. Now, these kids that are growing up now, it's all over the media. Yeah. People are wearing hoodies saying just talk more. And
it's great that we, as society's moves on, we can acknowledge it's a thing. It's crazy even like speaking to like my mum and dad at times, because like my dad was in the army for like 28 years, and I speak to both my mum and dad at times, and when my dad come back from war, basically, he said that, and this was always like just such a pivotal moment, and just to show how far we've come, is he said that when he came back from war, they had like a psychologist that came in front of like literally a troop of like 200-300 men, and they said, oh, if anyone needs to see a psychologist after the things that they've been through after war, if they can raise their hand now. And obviously there's 200-300 men there, and no one raised their hand, because obviously back then that would have been a sign of vulnerability. So if one of the blokes put their hands up, then the rest of the squad would have probably seen him.
Wow, that's interesting.
So, and he said that literally not one of those men raised their hands, but then they all just went back to civvy life, and they probably all had sort of issues they dealt with.
PTSD and everything else. Yeah.
And the fact that we can actually acknowledge these like things now, and like actually like get the help for people, it's still difficult for certain people to like fully acknowledge, but I think just like open conversations and topics about them is just it should be brought up in more conversations, and it not seem as like it's like some sort of like taboo thing.
Definitely.
You know what I mean?
I totally agree. So now you've obviously matured into yourself at this age now. Is there anything that you wish you could tell your childhood self?
Interesting. Yeah, just be nicer to myself, I guess. Just like realise that like the things that people are putting on you aren't, I don't know, that's the thing as well. Like when I think back to some of these like teachers and stuff, like the things they're throwing at you, I feel like it's more of a reflection of them than you. Because like when you're a kid, as you say, like you had the same, like people are like tarnishing you with this brush, and it's like why would you do that to a kid when like he's just learning, you know?
Exactly.
That's the craziest thing about the schooling system, is like there's part of me that thinks like it needs to just be completely revamped, because it's funny to me that we go through the most stressful period of our life when we're literally growing, we're in development, our hormones are all over the place, and we go through the most stressful part of our lives, which sets ourselves up for the future when you're just a kid.
That's a very interesting way of looking at it. You know, that you're continuously told to act mature and all that kind of stuff.
There's a picture that I've seen multiple times, and I love it. And it's like it's a monkey up the tree getting the banana, and it's loads of other animals around the tree, and it says you wouldn't expect the other animals to get up the tree as easy as the monkey. And to me, that's like a good reflection of showing that people learn differently, and just because like the schooling system is mainly academic, and that some people can easily just be an academic person and can go to the top of the tree like that, like the people and that's the thing. I feel like most kids were all tarnished with the same sort of learning style, but we all have different ways of learning, and
absolutely.
And that picture, I don't know, I think that's amazing. I think it's like a good representation.
Stuck out in your mind, does it? Yeah. I remember that. You know what? This is like kind of changed the subject a little bit, but it's still a picture that sticks out in my mind from my younger days. And there was a picture at school, and it was promoting like traffic safety awareness. Okay.
Yeah.
There was a big sign in school, and it said, "If you love your kids, belt them." And you looked at it and read it and thought, what? I mean, I know that was like, you know, there was even more of that happening back then, and it was more acceptable back then, you know, there wasn't as much child lines, but it was, if you love your kids, belt them. And I could never get right. And then it said traffic safety, seatbelt awareness in tiny words in the corner.
Yeah.
And I feel like that sign was kind of doing its job, because it drawn you in with that really like shocking statement. If you love your kids, belt them. Straight away you're like, violence, belting them, what? And then you actually look down, you know, very small in the corner of the picture, and it's like seatbelt traffic awareness. It's very clever. It's very clever advertising anyway, is what I'm trying to say. It draws you in. It definitely draws you in.
Yo, this is your boy Jumping Jack Frost, and you're locked into the Dribbz Talk podcast on Spotify and YouTube. Keep it locked right here, baby.
Did you form any relationships with anyone in your youth that you really valued? Now, I know obviously you mentioned your friend that moved to Australia, but is there anyone else that really sticks out in your mind?
Yeah, I had some good friends growing up. Yeah, my friend Mike Reel, he used to live around the corner from me, and he was like we had an interesting childhood. Basically, Mike was almost like in a bad situation with the people that were around him, and it was very easy to get caught up in that as a kid. And Mike always had like a strict goal in his mind that he wanted to move to Australia, and I think through that, and I had lots of little like different friends. Obviously I grew up in a city, and like I went to a state school called Northwood Manor, and then I made friends there. And then I remember for some reason at the end of like year 6 or something, like everyone was like really upset because like people were going to different schools around the city, and I remember everyone was like crying. And then my friend Chris, we were both like, why is everyone crying? Like, yeah, we live in a city, but like we can still see each other. And I felt like everyone thought they were gonna just like not have relationships again. But I remember my friend went to a completely different school, and like literally every Saturday I'd meet him at like 12 o'clock outside Greg's. And then I don't know, I was just one of those people. I just like blended with lots of different schools growing up. But
social butterfly, right?
Yeah, but to a degree. Like I go in and out of like being very introverted and then extroverted, and I think a lot of people that work in the sort of entertainment industry like that, they love their like own space and their own time to create and do things. But they also love to be around people as well. So.
Absolutely. So looking at your employment, what was your very first job and how did you land that job? No job is going to shock me here because I've had some quite random jobs.
I think I just worked in a corner shop. Yeah, okay. I did. Back then, we're talking 2000, probably like 6. So I'd have been like 14, 15, 13. Yeah, just like a corner shop. I think it was back then, like the minimum wage was like nothing. I was probably being paid like £2-3 an hour.
Did you do your stint of paper rounds?
Yeah. To be fair, I never really did the paper rounds, but I remember I'd help my mates out with their paper rounds. But
God, I remember the Sunday morning paper rounds when the papers were that thick. I'd have like 2 on my back. Oh man. Mate, yeah. No wonder I'm riddled with arthritis as a man now. But jeez, and you get like what? £4 for like, you know what I mean, for slogging your guts out. But
1,000 paper.
Trust me, like obviously because they had all the magazines on a Sunday as well, it was just a nightmare. But you know, £4 back then, it went quite far. Obviously, it wouldn't go far now. But what did you originally want to be growing up?
I think because like I grew up in the 90s as well, and I remember getting to go over to like Florida when I was a kid. And I went to like NASA Space Center.
I've been there. It's amazing.
Yeah,
isn't it?
It's crazy. And I got to see actually. I remember we were outside. It was called the Ponderosa, which was like an American buffet, and we were literally like staying around the corner. And actually, at the time, it was one of the days that they actually had one of the missions, like go to, I don't know if it was the moon or something, it might have been, but I remember we literally like came out of this restaurant and we saw literally this like rocket going into the sky. So for a long time I wanted to be like an astronaut, but then get into like my 20s, man, I couldn't think of a worse job than being an astronaut, man. Like it's actually like, I don't know why, I think most kids in the 90s wanted to be like,
See, I'm quite claustrophobic, and I'm scared of heights. Yeah. So the two of them back to back, that wouldn't make.
Being in like a little shuttle for like a few years, I couldn't think of a worse job. I mean, fair play to people that do that, but and then probably wanted to be a firefighter up until about 12 or 13, and then weirdly, the thing that made me want to kind of like pursue the arts into like photography and filmmaking was when I was supposed to be studying for my GCSEs. I got into the TV show The Sopranos. I don't know if you ever watched it. But I should have been studying for my GCSEs, but I watched like the whole, I think there's like 10, 11 series, and it's like it's like for me, that and Breaking Bad are like some of the best like TV shows of all time. But I remember just having like such a profound feeling from watching one of these episodes, and I was like, that's what I want to do when I grow up. I want to be a filmmaker. I want to tell stories. I think just like, I don't know, like, people like have like different ways of being like emotional, and for me like films, like I can be like quite straight like with just like like business and work, and just like be quite like, I don't want to come across cold, but I'm a very emotional person. But there's nothing like, if I want to like get into my feelings, or I'll watch a film, because films are just everything to me, man. Like,
and they're visual, and
yeah.
like, I mean this in the greatest respect, because I've got a lot of, I mean, my daughter's autistic. I've worked with special needs in the past, but something visual is a preference with someone on the spectrum. Do you know what I mean? I mean, for me, like, obviously having the ADHD and living with that, say books, for example, I could not sit and read a book. I don't know how people get lost in them for hours. However, give me a documentary that's visual I can watch.
Yeah.
I love it.
I'm the same. Like, when I read a book, like, I remember even when I was like 15, 16, like going abroad and like thinking I was like some cool kid taking a book with me. But I'd be on the beach and I'd literally read, and literally I'll read like 3-4 lines, and then I'll have to read it again, because it's just like,
exactly,
I can read it, but it's not going in there.
And that's fine. And that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. People learn in different ways, don't they? Some are visual, some are you know, audio. It's there's lots of different things with that. Did you have a mentor or someone who helped you guide your options with a career path?
Yeah, I did actually. So when I lived in Bristol, and that's kind of like my introduction into sort of like business, and I started a company called Psyched, and it was an events company that I started with my friend Ben Cattell and a few other people that I were living with, and that was kind of my introduction into the scene, really. Basically, we used to put on acts back in like 2012, 2013, like garage kind of came back for a bit. And that's the interesting thing about like music scenes as well, that there's some music can go away for a while and then it can come back in. Like drum and bass, for example, like I feel like drum and bass has only really got its like proper commercial success probably only over the last 5-6 years. Before that, like drum and bass has always been like an underground thing.
Do you know what I think kind of broke the barrier with that? And some people won't agree with me, some people would be scared to agree with me on this, but you got to give it to him, whether you like it or not. Pendulum. Pendulum broke barriers.
Tarantula.
Tarantula. I can't even think. Another Planet. There was so much that Pendulum were bringing into the charts. They were combining rock music with drum and bass, and then I just feel that Pendulum and El Hornet from Pendulum, personally, like, they don't really get enough credit for what they did. Some people laugh when I say about Pendulum, and they put them in the same bracket as like your Rudimental and things like that. But no, man, you've got to give it to them. They kind of broke down barriers which stopped from the underground to the mainstream, really, and crossed over. Yeah,
there's been like a mix of things over the last like 10-15 years, from like dubstep. They're all kind of like formulation. They all come from drum and bass in some sort of way or another.
See, me and the audio tech lads yesterday, we were saying, where's dubstep gone? Because dubstep was huge at one stage.
Yeah, man.
Rusko and all that.
Yeah,
they were huge.
Skrillex.
And then where's that gone?
Yeah, that's the thing. So I lived in Brighton as well when I was about 18, 19. I spent probably about 8 to 15 months there. I remember I used to go to this venue called Audio, and they put on like every Wednesday they would have like some dubstep producer there, and Borgor, was it?
Don't know. What was the club?
It's called Audio.
See, the only club I know there is Concord.
Yeah, I worked at
Concord's class.
Yeah, I was in Concord as well.
My brother-in-law used to live down in Brighton, and Concord was like the go-to. And I went to see Plan B at Concord.
Oh, amazing.
In his early days,
Yeah, so that was another weird thing as well, because I used to dart around different cities. Like one of the first like drum and bass people that I worked with, who kind of like he kind of low-key did kind of put me on, and I didn't even know much about him, but he was just a Bristol guy, and he was on Umja Radio. It was a community radio station, and he was just on it all the time, and I didn't know about this guy. And one day he like linked me, because we were putting on these events like probably like 3-4 times a month, and we were like big student population in Bristol at the time, and he linked me. I don't know how it kind of came about, but he was like, oh man, like I've got this like birthday party. He was like, can you come and make like a little after movie for me? And I did, and went and edited up all this stuff, and then I then like, I don't know how I found out, but like I was like, oh my god, this guy's big. And it was Carousel. Yeah.
Was it really?
Yeah, it was Carousel.
Carousel, the ambush crew.
Yeah, man. Like the whole ambush crew. I used to do like loads of video work for them,
Stanza
photography work. Yeah, man.
Mad.
And that's kind of like, that was like my introduction really into drum and bass. And then through that, I then landed up working with all sorts of people through Bristol, and then I got connected to people in Worcester, and that's kind of like got me in front of like working with all these like drum and bass artists. And still at that time, like obviously in Bristol, it was always like, it's an underground thing, but it was always very popular. But like when I say like drum and bass has always been underground, it's just like the people that they've always been packed events, but like as far as like the commercial element, I just feel like the last 5 years it's just a bit more commercialized for the younger people, whereas I was just used to like when I was like 18 going to like drum and bass raves in some sort of like Timbuktu, which was like an underground place in Bristol, and it was just like, yeah, just a mixture of people from the ages of like 25 up until, I mean, like,
let's
60.
face it, Bristol is the place for drum and bass, man. You're like, you know what I mean? If you grew up in Bristol and around that kind of era when drum and bass was breaking, it was it's a very beautiful city to live in. I personally have never been to Bristol. Shame on me. However, I have got a booking down in Bristol. It's called Shutdown Raves. It's some daytime rave. So I've got that going on at some point. So me and Slimothy D are heading down there with Monchi. So that should be pretty cool. Hoping to try and link Carousel while we're down there, actually. Go and say hello to him and stuff.
Yeah, he's a lovely bloke, man.
Yeah. So obviously we've spoke about your school days, some of your first couple of jobs. From school, did you attend further education? Did you go to uni? Did you go to college?
So I went and did a year of AS levels where I had to redo some GCSEs, and they threw me into some sort of like business course, which was just like, to be honest, it was a bit of a joke. And then I kind of dropped out and I went to a college that kind of did like an art course. So it was kind of like an art school, but it was just like a state college. But the maddest thing, like, I probably shouldn't be saying this, but the maddest thing was I wasn't actually allowed to be on that course because I'd failed my English GCSEs, and I knew I wanted to be on this course. It was a media course, and it was like all round media production, and they literally taught you everything. I remember going there for like the open day and was like, oh my god, this is like dream come true. They teach you about photography, filmmaking, script writing. It kind of was like a uni course. I remember my lecturer Tom Earwee was like, yeah, like, to be honest, like if you get on this course, I wouldn't go to uni because I'm going to form this whole course. I've kind of formalized it around what a degree is.
So how did you pull strings to be on a course that you weren't supposed to be on?
It's bad, man.
I mean,
I was young.
It's up to you whether you want to admit it.
I lied.
Okay,
I lied about like having my GCSEs, and
they never backed it up by looking into it.
So I remember going there, and I did have like good GCSEs. I passed all the courses that I went down. Like I like music. I passed. I like cooking, religious studies, science. But I just didn't have my English and maths, and that was inevitably, but it's just because like the way I was, and I wasn't academic. I'd get very stressed. But yeah, I went and I showed him all the documentation, and I was like, yeah, I can bring it later on. And he was like, yeah, you sure? He was like, I was like, yeah, but I just wanted to be on the course so bad, man, that like I knew they would reject me if I give them my GCSEs.
Right.
So I kind of, I lied, which is bad.
We do what we got to do, mate.
But honestly, if I hadn't had got onto that course, my life would have not gone anywhere near the way that it had gone. That course taught me everything. And then literally, as soon as I finished that, I moved straight to Bristol, and I just knew that I wanted to be a photographer.
See, things happen for a reason, man.
Yeah, man.
They do happen for a reason. I generally think that. However, me and Marcus do say, do not lie. We don't tolerate lying. We don't advise lying.
Lying's not good.
However, in Marcus's case, it turned out to be good. Love that.
It is a bad thing that I did, but I desperately wanted it, man. But honestly,
shows how bad you wanted it.
But yeah, without that, like, yeah, I don't think my life would have gone the same way.
So initially then, through obviously the course, looking into studying about photography, let's focus on the photography first. So how did you find an interest in photography? Was there a particular photograph or a certain style of photograph which really like sparked an interest or a flame in you to explore this?
So because my dad's got an army background. My dad was in the army for like 20 plus years. I actually originally wanted to be like a humanitarian photographer, so I wanted to be like I wanted to go to basically like war zones and be like a journalist.
Yeah.
And I had a set of experiences. I went to Africa, and I took like holidays where I don't know if you remember the Mediterranean crisis a few years back, where obviously it's still going on to this day, and it's awful, but like there's a lot of people that will get on these boats to travel to the UK or to travel to Europe out of desperation to flee war zones. And I got caught up in a load of interesting situations where I just saw a lot of stuff, and going to places that put me in kind of very dangerous situations at times.
Really
made me question if that was the sort of line of work that I wanted to get into, just because my dad grew up in, obviously my dad was in the army, and I grew up with a lot of like photography in the house, a lot of music, a lot of books. My dad was always very interested in war, and there's a very good photographer that I love called Donald McCullen, and he's a war photographer. And just reading books like that when I was a kid and seeing this like really shocking imagery, I don't know. I you just realise there's like a lot of humanity, like there's a lot of stuff that goes on in the world, and
absolutely.
I think just as a young like curious guy, that's kind of like the path that I wanted to go into. But then I had to live some kind of like some experiences to realise, you know, like it's still something that I might like, if I had the opportunities, like I would be interested in doing. But you know, like it's great being an artist, but it's not worth like losing your life over that sort of stuff. Not. And it's a very, very hard industry.
Yeah.
Back in the day, they like people like Kate Adie, which were like war journalists. They would just literally, they were so passionate about like the stuff that was going on abroad. They'd literally just turn up to these war zones with press passes, and they would go literally into war zones to get like photography and that sort of stuff. And nowadays it's just completely different. Like back then, like people would be able to go to these war zones, take photos, and then write stories and then sell them to the paper, and that's how journalists like generally made their living. But yeah, that was kind of something I was like really passionate about for a long time. But then I just it wasn't for me.
It's an eye opener, isn't it? It's definitely an eye opener.
You have to like sometimes like live certain experiences to realise that.
Definitely, I agree.
That maybe you don't want to be in those situations.
100%. Now, currently, you are very well known for your creative photography and videography. But at what point did this go from an interest to something that you knew you could make a career out of?
So a big thing for me as well, which I'm gonna prompt to anyone. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Prince's Trust.
Yes, I have.
Probably one of the best government things that are there. They're made for vulnerable young adults, really, to people from all sorts of backgrounds, to start a business. And I remember, like, that's the thing. I did like a year doing this like business course at in college, and that literally taught me nothing. I remember like doing this Prince's Trust course when I was in a really like bad place in my life, and I did literally like a week course, and that kind of like changed everything for me. And that put me onto mentorship, and that got me sat down with someone who worked at Land Rover, who was like a creative director for their video work. And I remember just like I'd meet him like once a week, have coffees with him, and he'd just tell me about like, I remember like the early stages. He was similar. He was like, you've got to start a brand. He was like, you've got to make your name the brand. And I was like, and it was always a bit weird for me. I was like, I just love doing photography. And I remember like I took a lot from him, but he was like a big help. And through that as well, because I'd been sort of like doing business and different jobs, but I didn't really have like a proper navigation, and didn't really understand a lot of like the financial side and a lot of things that went into business until I did that. And then after that, that's when I moved from Bristol after some bad experiences with other business partners. And I kind of then, after doing that course, I then moved to Shrewsbury, and I was like, I understood how to navigate myself and how to make a living out of it, really. And sometimes it's it's just about having a good product and a good service that people need, and it's just supply and demand. And you know, like, but the great thing about what I do is it sends me down so many different other avenues, and I really just, I love the variation. I love doing all sorts of different things. I'm very much I don't want to say opportunist, but I just love doing anything creative.
And we all have to take opportunities, man.
Yeah.
And like sometimes it's same with me. It's like sometimes there's certain opportunities that I think, oh, I'm dreading this. Like I really don't want to do this. This is well out of my comfort zone. This is really stepping out of the box.
Yeah.
And I'll talk myself out of it almost, but I push myself to do it. And afterwards, I'm on cloud nine. I absolutely love it, because mainly cloud nine because of the experience, but more so because I've proven to myself that actually that anxiety in your head that's telling you you can't do this, you're no good for this, they need someone else, someone that could do it better, you've almost overcome that. And I don't mean overcome anxiety, because I live with that every single day, but that initial feeling right there that was telling me I couldn't do it, I've kind of proved it wrong, and that's what was one of the greatest feelings for me.
Yeah, I mean, I deal with it too on a daily basis, and I do think as well, from what you say, do you think that we kind of suffer with that anxiety maybe because of like the school years and the teachers and that sort of thing? It's a hard one to navigate.
It can have a lot of contributions, can't it? You know, I had quite a rocky childhood. Mom was amazing. Dad was a word that we won't say on this podcast, but put me through a lot of stuff. I had to have childhood trauma counselling probably about 2 years ago now, which went quite deep, to be honest, but it made me it made me not obsess over all the things that I couldn't control as a child, and let go of some of the anger. But as I agree with you, bro, like from that I now suffer with anxiety every single day of my life, and I overthink the smallest of things.
Yeah, man, I'm the same.
Details that I don't even need to worry about. I worry about them, you know. Becca, my wife, will say, she'll go, "Oh, you're mithered today," and I'm like, "Yeah, I am. What are you mithering about?" Blah 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 blah. But that hasn't even happened, so why are you even making up the fact that might happen? Yeah, but it's easy to say to someone, isn't it? My wife has anxiety as well, but it's easy to say to someone who doesn't have anxiety. It's easy to think, just think something different. But it's a way of life, man. It generally is. I'm on meds for it and everything, like, you know.
This is the why, like, I think it's so important what we do, though, as like not only like the creative endeavors, but this is a better form of therapy to me than sitting down with any doctor, because I've also been to therapy, and I also like got referred to like have medication and stuff, but just from my own personal experiences, it wasn't a route that I wanted to go down, just because I've lost quite a few friends as well to depression and all sorts of things, and I don't know, living with it, I've found a way to kind of live with it. Then I acknowledge it's there, but living with it and sort of like navigating myself through my work has been the best thing for me to like stay on track, really.
Yeah, I agree. I often say this is one of my main pieces of advice, and if the listeners, obviously I want the listeners to take away today, you know, just an overall view of yourself, because with like the likes of Audio Tech, the brand, any other music artists I have on, creative, you know, photographers, videographers, people only see that final product. You know, they might see you at a rave or an event, and it might be like, oh, you're right, mate, but they don't know the real you, man. And sometimes it's important to do that, bro. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes 100%. It's important for people to have an idea of everything that you've been through to get to that final product that you are today. And that's why I think it's dead important that we do these things. You know, I'm by no means, I say this to people, I'm by no means a professional. I don't have university qualifications, but what I do have is life experiences.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Do you know what I mean? And I can't wave a magic wand and take everything, but I can listen, man. And sometimes that's all you need. But this is my advice to all the listeners out there, and I've said this in interviews before: find an outlet. Find something that really makes you feel good inside. For me, it's my music. For yourself, it's other creativity things, and plow all of your emotions into that.
100%.
You know, and that's when I find I'm at my most ease. Firstly, when I'm with my kids and my family, but secondly, when I'm in here, right here, this is my playground, you know. This is where I will sit here and think of ideas, brainstorm, have Zoom calls with videographers and potential ideas and other music artists, and record music. And this is my happy place. And I think if you can find somewhere or something that it makes you happy, plow everything into it, man, because it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it as I say, it changed my life, man. Like it really did. I don't think without this, I think I would have been in a worse. I don't know where I would be, but
again, things happen for a reason, bro.
Yeah.
So moving on from your personal journey with first getting behind a camera to currently, you're now part of a successful, ever evolving business called ISI Media, which shamelessly and embarrassingly, and you might have noticed this before, it's only recently I've sorted this out, I always thought it was called IC Media.
Yeah, some people do.
Oh man, I'm so sorry. It wasn't until I looked at the logo.
No, it's okay.
And I was like, seriously, I've been shouting out IC Media.
Yeah.
Like, come on. So I do apologise on that, bro.
No, it's okay.
IC Media. And looking at your website and the short introduction, you mentioned that you're an all-round creative media team, specialising in videography, photography, design and audio, turning ideas into powerful visual sounds and designs that captivate and connect. Now, this statement on your website, I couldn't agree more with. The professionalism and the presence that you guys have when you're covering these events or filming for a brand is literally second to none. Let's just say, when ISI Media are in the building. Long term, was this something that you always wanted to do?
Yeah, I think all three of us who started the company originally, so it was myself, Tom O'Keefe and Bryce Corden, we all just, I think we met because we had a joint passion for filmmaking, and we really do like to set ourselves apart from a lot of other things as well, because we all three of us have traditionally learnt, it's taken us years, but we're not just an average company who turn up and it was just a camera, we've learned everything from storyboards to scripts to exploring creative ideas, and sometimes brands need such interesting have ideas, and sometimes we develop those ideas into actual products, and at this point, the bigger the idea, the better. Really, we'd love to be able to we love to really develop ideas really into something that's is digestible.
Tell me which do you prefer on this then, because my good friend who does my music videos, Sean O'Hanlon from London, he's a videographer, and he'll go to some jobs and they'll go, I haven't got a clue what vision I've got, but I know what I want.
Yeah.
But when he comes to me, he'll say, what do you want? And I'll go, right, here's the possible locations, here's a spider diagram of everything I want, here's my costume changes, here's the props. And he's just like, oh, Dribbz, I fucking love you because you make my job so much easier. Which do you prefer? Do you prefer taking your own?
So I think me and Tom would probably say differently. I think some people come to us and they have such a strict vision, and for us that's easier if they have that vision because they kind of direct the whole thing. But sometimes companies don't know where to go with brands, and we will only give our opinion, our professional opinion, to just to think what will make it better for them. But I personally love the full process. I love being able to explore ideas with people and really make a product. I'll give them a shout out. Actually, it's a company that are actually sponsoring myself at the moment. That I'm wearing their t-shirt. It's called Athena Forte.
Hey, come on.
This brand, and the guy who works them, he's a rugby player, and he sponsors and works for St Helens rugby team.
Amazing.
And I can't big this guy up enough. Not only is he sponsoring me and the company and the endeavours, we're helping him out, but he started the brand because he wants to initially basically start a homeless shelter, and he's actively doing charity matches he actually supports people with autism as well. He's out in Thailand at the moment doing a rugby tournament to raise money for autism.
What a legend.
And he's really all over the place, and he's been sponsoring us, he's been sponsoring some of the film productions that I've been working on, and I'm actually making a film in about 2-3 weeks time. It's about boxing, and it's going to be exploring male masculinity and the sort of toxic nature of it through boxing.
Come on, that's amazing, mate. Round of applause on that one, man. That's fucking class.
I'm really looking forward to this because
a
lot of the contacts that I've sort of got through boxing over the last like 10 years. I've had so many people who have just reached out and said they want to be a part of it. And he's sponsoring the shoot, so he would get loads of clothing on the day.
Love
and
that,
everyone
love that.
But it's a really good company. I'm gonna let people know, but it's called Athena Forte.
What we'll do is we'll put that in the description of the video as well.
But yeah, great brand. The guy's doing amazing things, and yeah, generally raising just through the clothing. He's raising money for the homeless and for people with autism. And it's just, to be honest, there's some clothing brands that the great thing as well about owning a company as well, we get to work with people that we think that are actually like because we've realized through bad eggs basically that like there is some bad people in business, and we very much like to work with people that have good morals and good ethics and are actually doing things for the community. So being able to actually work with people that have like good positive outcome is such like a amazing thing for us as a company, because like if we're going to put our name to anything, we want to be working with good people,
definitely
especially like likes of like he had on the other day, Paul and Audio Tech, Mark, these guys, since like day dot when we first started working with them about 3 years ago, they've been like so respectful to us. And Paul especially, Paul's just like what I love about people, about these guys as well, is they're also just such lovers of the scene. They're like, I always say to people as well, like, because it took me a while to even class myself as, I guess, an artist in some sort of way or another, because I've always just been a fan first, man. Like I'm such a fan of like music and creatives, and I love it because like when you're capturing some of the raves that I'm performing at, it's like, you see some videographers and they're there, serious face, they're doing the job. Yeah. You're like vibing behind the camera while you're. I love that. I love that. Man. I only work for like things that like I really enjoy, really, because like we have put our names to some businesses, but at the end of the day, like it makes it such a big difference if you love the brand or the business. If you love what they're doing, it's easy to sell them, because it's like it's just, as I said, I'm a fan first before anything else. So yeah, I get that. So how do you approach planning a video shoot from concept to execution? Is there a lot of work that goes into that? It can be. If, like, for example, this film production. Can I just say, sorry to interrupt you there, big up whoever's decided to start mowing their lawn 2 doors away. This is the beauty of these podcasts, man. Like I say, they're real raw and uncut. So we ain't cutting nothing out. But it's just to let you know, it's not an angry hornet that's going around the studio. This is some jolly rancher on the sunny day that's decided to mow their lawn. But they've got every right to anyway. Sorry, Marcus, carry on. No, it's all good. As I say, we like to do things like from start to finish. If like people have got like the respect and the time and they really want a good, clean product, we're storyboard, we're explore ideas, we're plan. We can do everything from like organising locations to getting actors, actresses. We also Tom does a lot of work for them, but we work for a fostering company as well, and they're an absolutely brilliant company to work for. And Tom and me and Bryce, like about a year ago, we started working for them, and being able to explore ideas into sometimes very like interesting and could be controversial topics to people, but being able to explore topics and write like scripts that will help these businesses. It's always it's a bit of a challenge, but we love it. Yeah, I get that. If it's something that's a challenge, and then, I'm always up for a challenge anyway. And like I said, it is that initial feeling of, oh God, this is out of my comfort zone. But when you've actually achieved it and that final product's there, it's a beautiful feeling. Yeah, definitely, man. It really, really is. What was the first big win or accomplishment in your career with ISI Media? Any projects that you've done and was like, yes. So another local guy, great guy in the community, Jack from Pieces for Places. He owns a furniture shop in Barmouth and in Shrewsbury. He used to have some YouTube videos. He used to basically make these like John Lewis styled Christmas adverts, and them deep and emotional ones, right? And he commissioned us to make an advert, and that was like, he planned everything. He was the director on it, but we got to shoot in Barmouth, and that was like, I think, our first big win, because it was a very high-end commercial sort of video, as in like because sometimes people might like, you know, we're easy sometimes. Like sometimes it might just be a case of we just turn up and we just take photos and videos, but sometimes, like as I said, all three of us, we love filmmaking. So when someone comes to us and be like, oh, I want to make an actual film, or I want to make a full production, and they actually respect us enough to like put in all the work and go back and forth. So that was definitely a big win. Yeah, definitely a big win for us. But we've worked on lots of projects. We've covered festivals. We've made like lots of short films, and we're sort of continuing to do that. Sort of this summer, we've got a lot of work on. We're working several festivals, including Parklands, which we're very much happy to be back at, and a festival in Manchester called Green Island, which also was just started off as like a grassroots business.
Okay.
In a community garden centre in the centre of Manchester, and now a very big music event, which is amazing as well, because like when we started with them, there might have been only like 300-400 people coming, and then last year we turned up and there's like 5,000 people at the door.
Wow, that's crazy.
So
that's
being able to see, like, well, obviously we're not taking full credit for that, but like obviously being able to work with these brands that start off as grassroots business, and then they're able to then turn into a big event when they then get to generate more money to put into these events and pay more artists and
absolutely
have a thing. It's great, because at the end of the day, it's like us as artists, it's like a nice little ecosystem, and when we're all helping each other out and we're all respecting each other, and that's the great thing, because anyone in this industry who's truly in it and has good intentions, like, I don't know, not to sound cliche, but real people recognise real artists in these communities.
We all gravitate together, man. We 100%. All gravitate together. Can you remember your first big mistake or failure, and how did you handle criticism or feedback early on the stages?
In the early days, I probably would have taken it quite personally, especially because I was like kind of thrown into the deep end, where because I was like running these events, and I was doing the photography as kind of like a hobbyist thing. But I think in the early stages, I think I took that personally, because I just kind of wanted chance to explore, and I think I kind of was getting compared to other people, and when you're younger, that can be quite a negative thing, because like when you, like, in the beginning, you're not going to be amazing at anything. You might take years to get good at something, but a lot of people will switch off before that's the problem as well, is that sometimes bad criticism can really throw people off a trail, and you have to just stick there. If you really love it, like, you just have to stick with it, because like there was so much, I had so many, like, I had a lot of losses in the early stages, and I lost a lot of money and put a lot of commitment into maybe the wrong people and the wrong projects, and you just have to learn on the job sometimes, but that's kind of sometimes the best way.
I think constructive criticism was the big one that I had to deal with. I could never take it. When people are trying to give me advice for the better, I always thought that it was an instant attack, and if I believed something was good, then I was almost dismissing everyone else, and now I've learned to take that on board, and that's been a skill and a quality that I've had to learn myself, to take that on board and know that these people are only giving this advice to make me my better self.
100%. I've learned as well now that I have to be very, like, I'm always very respectful, and I always give my opinion to people from a place of, like, it's always from a place of love, and because I've got experience, but I've also had to learn to be to be careful with my wording, of how I give constructive feedback, because I want to know that, like, if I'm working with them and I'm working with people, that it's from a place of love, and it's not a place of, oh, you're doing anything wrong. So that's a great thing as well, being able to employ other artists and other freelancers and give them constructive feedback, and actually just let them know the right ways, because in the early stages I would just have people be like, oh, you're shit, you've done a bad job, and I would never ever do that. Even if I'm paying someone, I have to. That's why I like having phone calls as well, like voice messages. I'm not very good at text. Like, I'm not an academic, so like my texts can come across.
I'm a
as
massive fan of voice notes. Massive.
Yeah,
I love voice notes.
People hate me for it though.
I love it, but I'm one of these twats that rather than sending a long voice note, I'll send like 20 voice notes of 4 seconds long. I'm a nightmare for that. I tell you what, Who was it? It was Mark. Mark from Audio Tech, as of yesterday, secured the champion place for the longest voice note that I've ever received. 19 minutes long.
Wow.
19 minutes long. And it was an interesting voice note.
Yeah.
I was locked in and engaged for 19 minutes.
Yeah.
It was. I love voice notes, man.
I'm going to put it back to people with ADHD as well, because like if you've got like especially if you've got an idea in that moment, or you've got something that you're on you
Your fingers can't almost go fast enough.
Yeah, you just need to get it out like instantly, and you just need to like speak it into existence, because otherwise 5 minutes later you're just forgotten about it.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
The only thing is with a 19-minute voice note, it's like maybe there's 8 or 9 questions or comments that need a response, and it's you have yourself like writing down keywords just to remember them to respond to, you know. But yeah, it's an interesting one with feedback. Like, I get a lot of good feedback, but at the same time there is still the fools that, you know, just want to inflict a bit of misery, you know. I don't know whether it's jealousy. It's mainly TikTok, bro, like, because I'm putting myself out there on the lives, I'm doing some of my hip-hop tracks, and then it'll be like, what in the 50p energy drink is going on here, and all this stuff. And then I put this Never Fall Apart, because I've got a new release coming very, very soon, but my first release, Never Fall Apart, I put that out obviously on YouTube, and, you know, it did pretty well, and we had nothing but love. I had loads of kind of, me and the videographer, I had comments in my inbox from men saying, geez, Dribbz, like, I went through what you went through as a child that you're explaining, and I never thought I was the only one going through it. It's so humble to know that, you know, there was other men going through these things. So it did the job I needed it to do. Yeah. So there was that many different positive comments, and I thought, this is amazing. And then this one fool dropped into the public comments of the YouTube, and he was like, you are a shit rapper. You've got zero energy. You look like you're rapping at a funeral. This is awful. I'm really, really appalled to see this. And I was like, wow. So I kind of killed them with kindness. I came back and was like, thank you so much for that positive comment. I hope you have a lovely week. And he just kept giving it and giving it and giving it. And in the end, I just had to kind of draw a line under it and just ignore it and delete every comment that he was putting on my video. But you know what, Marcus, right? Out of all them positive comments, which one did I hold on to? That one negative.
Really?
It's mad, isn't it?
It works like that sometimes, yeah. But as you say, you kill him with kindness. That's just what you've got to do, because they're only projecting their insecurities onto you. And like, that's the thing as well, man. Like, one thing that really winds me up is like, when did it be like uncool to like not try? Yeah. People are always like, it's so easy for people to put a negative comment opposed to like, that's the thing as well, constructive feedback as well is actually sometimes like so much more positive to me than a compliment, because like, especially, I don't know, it's difficult, man. It is difficult, but I know I get it, why it will linger on you as well, because for both of us it's such a personal journey, and we've put years of our lives into this. Absolutely. So like, when people say those things, it will get to you, because like they don't know, like they don't know the struggle and the hardships you've got to even be able to put yourself out there like that, or to be able to do that. Like, they don't see the years of like uncertainty and the insecurity that's like kind of like driving and fueling us to not do it. So there's been a few times where I've been close to going, do you know what, forget this. Yeah, man. And that kind of brings me on to my next question with you. Was there a moment where you or the team in a whole almost quit or wanted to? Yeah, we had some really tough times. You don't have to go into too much detail. You can be pretty generic. Like, yeah, no, it's okay. Like, we had some really like tough times. Like when we literally started with an office space, and we literally had nothing. Like, we literally had, like, we got all our furniture off Facebook Marketplace. I think in the beginning it was literally like we were in a cold office. It was freezing because the building literally had single glazed windows, and we literally had a laptop, and we both had we all had a camera each, and that's the thing as well. Like, it's hard to, but I do like from where we are now to where we were like 3-4 years ago, I've got to as you say, I've got to give myself some flowers as well, and be proud of certain aspects, because when we started we literally had nothing, and to be able to now like do some of the jobs that we did, absolutely. It's nice, and it's it's still a job, but it's nice. It is nice.
And this is why these podcasts are important, because like the Audio Tech lad said, it gives you just a moment, because life is hectic, man. It gives you a moment to actually reflect on all the things that you've been through, when times when you've had next to nothing, and then look in hindsight of what you've got now and see how far you've come, bro. This is why the podcasts are very, very important with that.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's something with ISI Media that you know now that you wish you'd known back then?
Not to sell yourself too short, because it's very easy, like especially in the beginning, you can sometimes focus on the dream too much that you forget about the financial aspects of things, and that can then leave you in a sometimes a worse situation. And just pricing still to this day is like, it's difficult, because like in the early stages, I literally, as I said, I worked for free for years before I'd even start pricing, and I sometimes I'll still price very cheap now for certain jobs, because sometimes I just enjoy the process so much. But then sometimes you do a job and you think it's going to be straightforward and you're in and out, but then it can turn into like 20-30 hours worth of work, and it's just about protecting your time and your peace and having respect and boundaries as well. That's one thing that I've learned. I worked in the club industry basically up until December last year, and I basically I was in a short-term relationship with a girl called Mary, and she is in the entertainment business herself, and at very high end level of it. And she kind of inspired me into kind of the next steps that I've taken over the last 6 months. And I just realised I was really unhappy with club work, so I kind of got out of club work, because I've been doing that for 10 years, and I've realised actually I've been limiting my creativity by doing that. So it wasn't up until January that I've actually now started acting, and I had some very amazing opportunities through people that I've connected through with work, and I've actually done 2 films now since January. I got to work with a guy.
So is that The Sopranos and Breaking Bad?
To be fair, the one film I was in is actually a gangster movie. And it's with a guy called Peter Hurst, who's a professional actor, and he's I remember he messaged me, and he's worked on some of these like commercial shoots for us for the fostering, and he messaged me. I remember seeing him on the last commercial shoot, and he was like, "Oh, I'm shooting a little film in Manchester in a few weeks," and he said, "Oh, you mentioned you would like to do some extra work," and I was like, yeah, I'll do it, me thinking it was going to be like a small little production. And he messaged me the night before. He was like, "Oh mate, I'm shooting this film in Manchester tomorrow." He was like, "Can you play like a kind of henchman bouncer for this film?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." And he was like, "Oh, I'll pick you up in the morning." Anyway, he picks me up, and we go to the airport, Manchester Airport, and he's like, "Oh, we just got to pick up one of these actors." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, we just got to pick up this guy called Ray Malone. He's just got off a film with Sean Penn and Mel Gibson."
What?
And he was like my co-star for the day.
Oh my God.
And I've not done much acting before, and I turn up to this film, and they're all like very high-end professional actors. Like all these people are like working actors, and I had the absolute like the most amazing day. And kind of on the way back to the airport, I had a chat with Ray, and I said to him, "Oh, I'm just starting in this sort of acting area." I was like, "Can I get a bit of advice for you?" And he was like saying to me about, he was like, "Look, when you're playing these characters," he was like, "for example, if you're sad or you're depressed in the scene," he was like, "go back to that like worst point in your life, or the most like the time when you've been like the worst,
right,
and it will just come out in your eyes, man." He was like, "If you think about that memory,
that's interesting,
you'll just see it on camera."
Wow.
And honestly, I had a 15-minute conversation with him in that car, and I've got so much inspiration from that, and this Mary girl that I was with over December, and she just said about putting yourself in these industries and just like kind of not forcing yourself into them, but she was like, "Look, if you want to be in them, like there's a lot more like-minded people than you think." Because when you work, because I worked on my own as well for like about 7 years prior to working with the lads, it was it was good. I learnt a lot, but it can be a very isolating place as well.
Right.
When I don't know, like I was freelancer just on my own. I was working 4 or 5 clubs a week and doing other little projects around the country and sometimes abroad. And
then there's obviously the travelling by yourself, coming back by yourself.
And you know, like for people, you know, like it I was living the dream, but at the same time, like it was a very isolating place, especially when I was just on my own sometimes you know, it can be very isolating, because obviously, like, I'm very respectful and appreciated and grateful for where I'm at and the things that I've done to get there, but also, like, the reality of it is sometimes, you do the job, you're on a massive high, and then you go home and you're on your own, and it's it's a lot of highs and lows, and
it's very hard to switch off as well. You know, after performances with me, it's not as easy as just going home, getting into bed, going to sleep. You can't do that.
I was about to say, you're coming back at like 5 a.m. and you got bass ringing in your ears still. It must be. It's a hard thing to switch off, man.
I mean, the only kind of godsend for me is the fact that, you know, it's Dribbz and Monchi. If it was just Dribbz, and I've experienced just Dribbz, and it is, like you said, it's a very lonely thing, you know, leaving the rave, going to a rave that you don't know anyone, you've just come to perform, and
man,
you know, as much as I like to network, it's not as glitz and glam as what everyone sees on the outside, is what I'm trying to say, I suppose.
That's the thing, and it can then lead to you then feeling kind of almost like misunderstood, because like you're doing your thing and you love it, but then I don't know, it's hard. It must be, to a degree, it must be even more heavy on your end, because like sometimes you're on stage to thousands of people, and then boom, you're offset, and you've just had an hour where you're like in your element and you've switched off.
It's crazy.
To then
I think we've learned to do that over time. Like me and Monchi always say, like Dribbz, Monchi, pure masks, pure alter ego. Like Dribbz is the most outgoing, confident person you'll meet. The real ad, hates small talk, has anxiety over the smallest of things, and like as soon as the cap and the shades come on, we get on stage, it's like, right, it's business. And we can be having the most stressful day and the most, you know, horrendous news, but as soon as we get on that stage for that hour that we're performing, you would never know that we've got these dramas going on, because it's our happy place, you know. And then we deal with them when we come off stage. But it is hard, and it's
interesting that you say that as well, because like when I first moved to Shrewsbury when I was 22, when I look back, I was still just a kid, and I was still like quite just scared and insecure, and I was so, because I was on my own and I was just freelancing and no one knew me. I used to call myself Aurelius, and it kind of became like almost like an alter ego for me to hide behind, because I felt like I was like almost just scared about people knowing who the real Marcus was, and obviously because I was just photographing, and people would like, I don't know, people would put their sort of opinions on me before they actually like truly knew me. I just used to call myself Aurelius. When I think back, it's like so stupid, but it was kind of like, as you say, it's kind of like a mask to hide behind.
It is.
And I think it's just because like deep down I was just like terrified. I don't know. It's interesting. It
is. It definitely is. Now, how would you say that your goals and your definitions of success have changed since the beginning of starting ISI Media?
I now understand money a lot better, and understand that where it needs to go to keep things alive. For me, as I said, I love employing freelancers. I love giving other people the chance as well. So one thing we sort of like, I mean, I love as a company that we love working with artists, and we love collaborating with people. So if there's any other opportunities that people like, we get to work with other people, always happy to bring other photographers, other videographers along to work on projects, because we realise that there's like so many people who've got talent. There's like, that's the thing, sometimes people don't get the chance. So to be able to see someone from the outside, especially through like Instagram, and see, wow, this person's like amazingly talented,
course,
being able to then say to them, oh, do you want to come on a day shoot with us while we film something, and maybe we just pay you to like do some behind the scenes photography.
Nice.
For me, because I understand in the beginning how much it meant for us to get that sort of validation. So being able to give that out and being in a position where we can do that, and that's like something that's it makes me happy, you know.
100%. Looking back on the years of ISI Media that it's been active, would you have done anything differently now? Or are you pretty happy with everything there?
I don't know. It's a hard question. there's always different things you could do. It's still in a work in progress. That's the thing. We're still developing,
and we're always learning, aren't we?
Yeah, I think now it's great because now we're at a point where we can kind of actually go into the projects and the things that we want to do more, because it was always a case with us that we wanted to get commercial work so we could put money into more passion projects or like showing off different things. That's why this film that I'm working on, I'm really looking forward to it, because it's something that I've been wanting to do for years. I've always wanted to show a side of boxing and dealing with my own sort of like masculinity over the years. It's like something that I think that a lot of boxers channel into, because not only does it help people with their mental health, it's like it's a great thing. Like, the thing is, like, boxing from the outside, it can seem for some people like, oh, it's like some sort of aggressive sport, but actually, like, boxers are the most controlled and level people, because it's like re-giving that power back to you, and you just become very like, it's nice. It's a nice thing to be able to do, and you feel it makes it's the best thing for my mental health.
Absolutely, yeah.
Training like once or twice a week is like, couldn't ask for anything better.
Definitely. Now, Eyesight Media has been involved in so many areas of creativity, from, I don't know, covering clubs, gigs, festivals, business, promotional needs, cafes, restaurants, animation and products, and model photography. I mean, that's a lot. And there's even more than that. You guys really do cater and get involved with just about everything. Now, the one thing I love about you guys is that you're very humble in your approach. It's like you all fully believe in your talent, but at the same time, you're open to advice in order to get the best possible outcome from any job that you're involved in. Now, I know you've had the pleasure to work alongside some fantastic artists in raves and their own personal music achievements, but I want to know, who has been one of your favourite artists to work with?
Over Christmas, me and Tom had the chance to work with Katie Price and Kerry Katona.
Did you?
Yeah, we worked
on an Iceland advert, was it?
No, we worked on a pantomime. But just another person as well. She did actually a Louis Theroux podcast back in December, and from the outside in, Katie Price probably got a bad rep. But honestly, absolutely lovely lady. Absolutely, beautiful lady inside and out. Like,
nice.
She, it's just, you know, as well, like, being in the limelight, whatever area it is, people get so misunderstood. Definitely. And the media can really zone in on some people and make them seem like they're like some sort of villain or something, but they're actually just lovely people. And that's the great thing about, like, obviously you do, in any industry, you're gonna have some bad eggs, but actually, like, some of the most accomplished people I've met are some of the most humblest, and that's just, it's lovely to me. That was like one thing that I learned in the early days as well, because like just meeting people that are literally like on top form of their like professions, and they're the most humblest people, and that's just one thing I continue to want to strive for, like, because I work with people in the past who are just disrespectful and arrogant, and being able to be a company that is just so respectful to people and treat people well is just, that's all I really want. Really, it's just because it's just, at the end of the day, like, we love what we do, and we know the people that we work with love what they do, and it's it's the best thing, really.
How much creative freedom do you usually have when you're working with an artist? Or does that differ to who?
Yeah,
who
it differs depending on things. Sometimes people send over like a pretty intense briefs and stuff, which we're always happy to cater for. I think like as we go up the ladder, I think the bigger the brief and the more like outline, it kind of can sometimes show the professionalism a lot more, and that's just one thing we love, because it's like, I don't know, we want to make sure that we're working for people that are just as organised as us, because we have fun and we make jokes and we have fun on the job, but at the end of the day we still are professionals. And like yourselves, like at raves and stuff, you can have fun, you can have a laugh, but you're still professionals and you're still there to do a job. Yeah.
Now, talking about, obviously you mentioned about coming out of filming within the raves, I want to look at moving back into filming in the raves, because like our paths crossed when you were filming, you know, the ever-growing Midlands drum and bass brand Subvert. So with this, I'm interested to know, and I've got a few questions related to this, so I won't go too deep into it, but what's the key to capturing the raw energy of a drum and bass rave on camera?
Interesting. I mean, I have a very particular type of photography style where I use like a basic what's called like an off-camera flash, and sometimes like I'm not like, after working in club photography for years where people are just like drunk and come up for posy pictures. I don't really like that. So just being able to like capture people in their moment and their essence is like great.
But that must be so hard, because in a rave, you know, you've got lights, you've got lasers, you've got fog machines. Like, how do you deal with low lighting, lasers, fogs, and fast movement with these shoots?
Yeah,
that must be so hard, bro.
Yeah, it can be difficult. Like off-camera flashes, it's about lighting. Like flash triggers are something that in the early days I got to shadow some amazing photographers, and to be fair, part of my style was kind of like developed through a very amazing photographer that I still love to this day. His name's Theo Cottle, and I got to shoot. He used to shoot for some of our events, and at that day I was still just a novelist really, and just like picking up on certain techniques and just watching him from a place of I just loved his work, and I was like, I want to be able to photograph like that. So
nice.
Yeah, there's, when it comes to kit, there's so many different like avenues and different things you can use to get it, but it's taken me years to get a style specifically just in drum and bass in itself. Like that took me years to get to.
So obviously mentioning no brands here, no brands. What is the wildest thing that you've ever captured on camera at a rave?
Interesting. I mean, some of the...
You did Parklands, right?
Yeah. Yeah, some of the events I've been to over the years, like the backstage, like, and some of the lifestyle and some of the art, it's just like crazy scenes and crazy, like, just, yeah.
God, I remember the one set at... I've mentioned the brand now. What am I doing? I said don't mention the brand, and I've just mentioned the brand.
That's okay.
At the amazing Parklands Festival, there was an attendee that spent literally most of, I think it was our set or the one before, just... Like at the front, like that. You know, arms up, top up, everything's on show, just there. And unfortunately or fortunately, she got included in the official photographs, and then within 2 days it was like, that picture is gone. Like, she sent a special message saying take that down. So that was pretty wild, like, but nothing else you can think of off the top of your head?
To be honest, just like, as I said before, when the biggest moment for me working in drum and bass was working with like, and just photographing an event where I worked with Skibber and Stormin.
That's wild.
Because I've got a picture that I love. I got to meet them and take a picture of them, and they were just the energy, man. The energy, especially of Stormin. I've never ever seen anything like it, which at the time, I know the guy was dealing with all sorts of issues, like he had obviously health problems, which once again, rest in peace.
Bless him.
He died of skin cancer, but I just remember like at the time he was struggling with that, but the energy that man put out for dealing with something so severe, but being able to be that like, have that so much energy, it was just truly inspiring.
There's not many MCs that you can match that energy on stage, you know, that jumping that he used to do, and boss it with his big finger, boss it, and the Bilson skank, and you know, it just his towel around it on stage, and it truly missed, man. That guy truly
that's why I love you guys though, man. As I said before, like Skibber, Stormin, you and Monchi and Azza and Grimer, honestly, and Carousel, like you guys have all grown up and been around these people, and like you can just see it, because like you know, I've not been to any of your, I've probably seen about 30 of your sets at this point, and there's not been one set where I thought like, oh, there wasn't that much energy. You bring the same energy to every set, and
thank you, man.
That's like inspiring as well, because I know what it's like sometimes you've had a shit day or shit week, and to be able to get up on stage and still give like 1,000% performance every time, that's inspiring to me as well, because I know like it could be hard at times.
Definitely. Now, we've obviously talked about a lot of stuff here. We've covered about a lot of stuff, and I want to explore with you a little bit more about your beliefs and faith in what you do long term. So I'd like to know, what keeps you going when things get tough or progress just genuinely feels quite slow?
I've always, like, as I said, like I've had such like a fixed image in my head about things for years now, and Yeah, when things get slow, it's tough. But I just know, like, I think because I've been working in this industry now for like 10, 13 years, I understand that sometimes you're gonna have slow periods, and when those slow periods are happening, it's like, yeah, you can like throw yourself into it and sometimes push, but sometimes like you can push too much. And I think nowadays I need to realise that sometimes I do need to take maybe a bit of time for myself, because that's always a very hard thing for me as well, because I'm like constantly on the go. I think to some people it might seem like I'm just like living a life of Riley, but usually everywhere I go or everything I'm doing is somewhat work related in some sense. But I need to learn to I don't know, sometimes say like take a week or something.
Take time for yourself.
Yeah, but it's hard. It is hard.
It is hard.
Yeah.
It is hard. I mean, with my music, it's the first thing I think of when I wake up, and the last thing I'm sorting out. The first thing I'm sorting out before bed is it literally is everything for me. I eat, sleep, and breathe the music and the avenues that it takes. And the past year, it's took me in directions, Marcus, that I never thought I would even go, you know, with the talks with the schools, and I never set out to do that.
Yeah.
But the directions it's took me is amazing. But yeah, sometimes when progress does feel quite slow, it is very, very important to take some time to see how far you've come, man.
The thing is, it's the industry, and it like it's a roller coaster, and sometimes like when it's like going down, you just gotta wait it out for a bit, and then you'll be back to the top again. It's just it's hard, but yeah, you just gotta ride it, I guess.
Yeah, of course. Now, just from seeing your personal social media presence, I'm aware that obviously, you know, like you've mentioned, you've got a strong passion for boxing. What first drew you to boxing as a hobby?
So his name was Andrew. When I was about 10, 11 years old, his dad ran a boxing club in the Arboretum in Worcester. I started boxing there when I was about 10, 11. And then, to be honest, I had like a lot of sparring, a lot of training, a lot of fights, but I didn't really like come back into my life until I was about 19, 20.
Okay.
And then, when I then moved to Shrewsbury, I got in with some boxing promotions. I was working for a few people, a guy called Zach Ripper, who's actually ex-gang. He's like a reformed gang member who now does work in the community, and another legend in the sort of scene. He's now sadly passed as well, rest in peace. Pastor Barrington Patterson, and he was a cage fighter in the 90s, and he was very famous. And I remember getting to work with him and all these other promotions, and once again, didn't really know who these guys were until I found out, and then realised they're very like influential figures in the community. And once again, like sometimes the hardest buggers, man, they're the softest people. Like some of these people are like scary to look at, but when you actually realise they're like the loveliest people, like they were doing.
Never judge a book, man.
Yeah, 100%, and they were literally doing some incredible community work. Like especially Patterson, like he was like doing loads of stuff in and around Birmingham to get people to like put down their knives and come into fighting, because he grew up where obviously he led a life of like gang crime in his early years, and then realised like boxing or cage fighting was a way out for him. And then as he got older, he just like opened up boxing gyms around Birmingham, and getting the kids in there at a young age before they're, because obviously like in those areas like there is a lot of sharks, you know, and a lot of people that will get kids into gang crime and stuff. And he was like an active person. I like to say, like, the thing is as well, like people like this is where I get a lot of my attitude and a lot of my decorum from as well, because these people are like unsung heroes in the community, and they were doing literally amazing things, and people don't realize the impact these people had. They you know, like if they didn't introduce themselves into these like kids' lives, you know, they have profound effects on how these people
100%.
live and how the rest of their lives go. And people like him, like just finding out stuff like that, it just made me like have so much inspiration and respect for those type of people. So it's definitely something I've taken on board and like something I want to continue in. Like, to be honest, it'd be a dream come true for me to maybe once, like I've always wanted to own like a little boxing gym myself.
Love that.
Just from a place of somewhere to train, and if you can get some lads in to do it. Because I'm always like promoting it and saying to people like, oh, if they're dealing with any sort of mental health, like, oh, have you tried combat sports? Because it can just really change people's lives around, man. Especially like when you're like, like 20 to 40. Like, it's just, I just think it's great. A good way of dealing with maybe daily stresses that you can't.
And some people don't actually go to these boxing gyms just to bash people's heads in, do they?
Yeah.
They go for weight loss, they'll go for, endurance, strength.
They're usually like, most of these like boxing gyms are usually just a bunch of lovely people, everyone with the same objective, circuits. It's not really, a lot of the time people aren't even sparring, it's just like individual circuit work and things. But it's just, you get a right bunch of lads in a boxing gym, and girls as well, and you're all just boxing, you're all just having a laugh, and it's just good energy, man.
100%. What advice would you give to someone who's thinking about starting boxing for the first time?
Just don't be scared. Like, I know a bunch of people boxing in a room can be like quite intimidating, and whatever level you're at, like, go and do it, because like you'll make friends, and you'll feel great after it. Yeah, you might feel rough the next day, or feel a bit sore for the first time, just because your body's not used to that. But honestly, like, it's a great way for young lads to build up like mental strength, because it's similar to the army in certain sense. It's like it teaches you discipline and respect, and I think it's sometimes like young lads need that,
Yeah,
it's like it's little things like that that's really like just helped me on my journey, I think.
Totally. Now, this next topic I'd like to explore it's a topic that's very personal to me. It's a topic that I advocate in all that I do, and that is men's mental health. Marcus, why do you think that mental health discussions are often more difficult for men to engage in? I
think it's like a socio-political thing, and a lot of it is just that over the years, like, I don't know, it's hard as well, like, because like sometimes blokes don't feel like they have anyone to reach out to, and there's lots of stigmas that still need work on. But I think the great thing about just like having friends and meeting other like-minded people is you realise that a lot of people are dealing with it, but there's still such a stigma around it, and I don't know, as blokes we're not taught to really like be in touch with our emotions.
Yeah.
One amazing thing I found out a few years ago, when I was a kid, I used to have like horrendous stomach pains, and they thought I had like IBS, and I went and got all the checks and the scans and stuff to see if I had it, and they said, oh, there's nothing wrong with his stomach. But then I Professor Green,
of course,
he went on he did a lad bible, and I watched that, and it kind of made me realise, because he also had a similar situation where he was a kid where he thought he had IBS, and he thought he had horrendous stomach pains, and a lot of young kids who are dealing with maybe psychological problems, they can't fathom that it's mental. And so sometimes they will transfer that pain into stomach-related issues.
That's interesting.
And Pro Green said the exact same thing, that he was like, he didn't realise that like he was actually dealing with like psychological problems when he was a kid, but he was actually just
that's amazing.
The pain can manifest itself into actual real pain. So it's not like it's like in there, but that can have that effect. And I think that I probably did like similar thing when I was a kid. I think I was probably dealing with stuff that I didn't realise, and instead of like saying like, oh, I need to talk to someone, but obviously when you're a kid you don't really think like that. No. I manifested it into stomach pain. But it's quite common if you look into it. It's like a lot of people deal with it as a kid.
Have you noticed any patterns in your mental health, such as like certain triggers or times when you feel lower than usual? I
mean, nowadays I know like alcohol's like a no-no. I do have a drink like occasionally, but like I need to drink now out of enjoyment. So, for example, like if I've had like a good month or I'm celebrating, like I can go and have a drink. But as long as I'm in a good mental space and I'm actually feel good about myself, having a drink.
Drinking for different reasons, isn't it?
Yeah, having a drink could be, I'll have a nice evening. But if I've got the slightest like problem or stress on me and I have a drink, it's a no-no.
And it's nice that you notice that.
Yeah, so nowadays I probably will only have like a drink once a month, and I've got to be very careful, like just the situations, the environments I'm in. Alcohol isn't something I've never struggled with alcohol, but like I do realise, I don't know, it's very common, especially British society, in it, like go down the pub and everyone like needs to have a drink to socialise. But like now I'll go for business meetings and I'll go for meetings with people in like a relaxed setting, and they're always like prompting like, oh, let's go for a pint, and I'll be like, oh, can we do a coffee? Can we do a coffee?
Yeah. You're talking to a teetotal here.
Yeah.
And it's not by choice, it's by my medication. Unfortunately, it's doing that my medication for my arthritis is doing that much stuff to my liver that drinking would just be game over. But yeah, you're totally right. And being in that setting of what I do, it'll be like, oh, would you like to perform for us? We'll give you this. You'll also have a +1 and an open bar.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like,
how many beers do you want behind the decks? I'm all right, mate. Just a couple of bottles of water.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, the entertainment industry, like, sadly, it's just things that people don't know, but they kind of do facilitate it, and it's not necessarily a bad thing. Some people can have a good relationship with alcohol and it not be too much, but I say, especially MCs, I've worked events, I've bought riders for MCs where it's like, oh yeah, they turn up and they want like 2 bottles of like vodka and a bottle of brandy and like 15 beers, and it's like I learned that as well, because I also worked in clubs and events where I'd always be getting offered drinks or being the promoters offering you stuff, and it's like, yeah, nowadays it's just like a no-no. I'd actually rather go and just enjoy doing the job. I also went for a period from 22 to 27 where I was like completely teetotal, and then nowadays I might have like a drink like once a month, but I try to limit it really, because it's just no good for me.
It is. Me and Slimothy D said on their podcast a couple of weeks ago that like the lifestyle of an MC, the long hours, and with yourself, like the long hours, finishing at 2 a.m, then travelling back, it's something that you have to have a lot of what do you call it? I'm trying to think of the word. You have to stop yourself by not going into bad habits, because it's very easy. Weight, for example, like lifestyle eating, like, oh, we'll just grab a Macca's on the way home. Oh, we'll just grab a Macca's on the way home, 3, 4, 5 in the morning. Yeah. Oh, and we find ourselves sat in a car park at McDonald's, some random place at 5 in the morning, chomping a burger and then going to bed. And like, if you're doing that weekend in, weekend out, you do have to have a bit of self-discipline. That was the word I was going to say. Yeah. So yeah, it could be very easy to fall into quite a dangerous lifestyle with that.
Yeah, sadly, I mean, I've had it as well. Like I went through periods as well where it's just like it's being facilitated and it's just easy to have those bad habits, and it's not good for yourself, it's not good for anyone around you, and it's just but it's so well known for this artist to drink, and so they're quite shocked when they find out I am teetotal. And I found myself, it's funny that we mentioned this now, because I found myself the other month, I was doing a performance, and halfway through I was like, oh, I really need a bottle of water. So I went to the bar and she was like, what beer can I get you? And I went, no, I just want water, I'm driving. And then, bro, I don't even drive. Like, I felt like I had to give a reason to why I wasn't drinking beer. Yeah.
Weird, isn't it? Like, it should be perfectly normal to go, can I have a glass of tap water, please? And that should be okay. You shouldn't have to feel like you've got to make up a reason just to... it's weird. It's
weird as well. Like, I've gone from different social groups over the time, and I've like turn up and I'll say, oh, cranberry juice or pineapple juice or whatever, and then people will look at me strange and make comments and stuff, and it's just like, nah. It's hard as well, because if you've got like that sort of addictive nature, and especially people with ADHD, and it's for very well known people on the spectrum, and have more susceptibility to addiction just because of the way our brains work and the lack of dopamine, and so it can be a lethal slope. And sadly, like, I mean, it's not nice to know, but I've actually like lost friends because of that, and it's hard, man. It is hard.
It is hard, and it only takes one bad day to break that cycle, doesn't it? And 100%. Then you're back to square one again. It is a crazy thing. So how do you think men can overcome the stigma of seeking therapy or talking about their feelings? It's a tricky one because there's no easy answer to this.
No, it's not. It needs to. I just think I like that people who are in our sort of profession are speaking more up to it, because there needs to be more of that, because like, if anything, like anyone with a voice or a fan base or whatever, like if we're in a scene where, I don't know, like people think it's cool or whatever, like it's good to show the younger people that, like, I don't know, people are prompting it who have made like successful moves in their lives, because it's just like you want people to be looking up to that and say, oh well, this person's like could be doing this sort of lifestyle and they have the facilities to be doing drinking every night or whatever, but they're not. And
yeah,
hopefully that'll kind of inspire some people.
Hopefully. What are some strategies that help you manage your mental health and your well-being?
Exercise, main one. Yeah. I have to box at least once or twice a week. I went through a kind of probably overworked myself where I was like boxing like seven days a week at one point. Yeah, and when I was like 27, 28. But boxing, as you know, with Liam and stuff being on the show, like, it's if you're training for a fight, then training every day is crucial. But like, if you're not, like, yeah, once or twice a week's more than enough for me now, because otherwise you're just overworking your body, and that can come with issues as well.
Definitely,
like,
yeah.
But exercise, good food, yes, like social activities as well that are positive. I mean, for me, as I say, what I do is like my biggest crutch and my biggest vice. So being creative, man, like, I love it. Like, it's, even if I'm not doing a job, like occasionally, like, I'll go do things, I'll go fly a drone or write a script, or I'm always like writing or making stuff in some sort of way or another, because that's just my biggest crutch. It's hard as well, because like sometimes like I'll still work for free now, because like for me, like, I don't know, as long as I'm eating and I've got everything right, like I still want to just explore other people's passions and creative endeavors, because for me as well, like, I've helped a lot of people with their careers, and it's not something that I would like boast about, but for me it's just it's nice to see people get to where they want to, and if I can help in like the smallest way possible for them to get somewhere, then that makes me happy.
Love that. And finally then, for any of my listeners that might be struggling with their mental health, what advice would you give them?
First off, if you're dealing with any addictions, like, address it in the right nature. If you've got friends or family, instead of like, it's very easy to hide these sort of things from the people that you love at times, and I'd say always reach out, because even if you're in like an isolated place, there's always people that love you. Even if you don't think there's always people that want you here, you know. And exercise is like a main, especially for men. I'd say if you need to be working out, if you're dealing with mental health disorder, but there's lots of different avenues to it. Thankfully, I think we're living in a generation where people are more accepting of it, and there's more alternative types of therapies as well out there. But as well, like, if you're struggling, like even me and Dribbz, you know, like, you can always reach out to us. Like, always people in the community. I think that's like the biggest thing for me, is like, I want to be someone in the community that people can reach out to, and like, I've got time for everyone, you know. Like, I'll speak to anyone. Like, there's always time in the day to help someone out, you know. So,
and I hope just by people listening to this that they get a more better understanding of yourself as an individual, man, which is more than ISI Media. Do you know what I mean? Putting ISI Media aside, this is about you, bro. So I hope people get a better understanding.
Yeah, I think that's something I've always searching for, because at times I feel like I've been very misunderstood, and I think all I'm sort of seeking really is people to understand that, like, I've got good intentions, and I just want to. I think we can live in a world where creative endeavours can really help a lot of people and change the narrative of things, and sometimes it just takes a bit of belief and understanding people, because bringing like communities together and people together. I think like it's very easy in a day and age of social media for us all to be a bit more isolated, but actually, like, if anything, it should be connecting us more in a real sense and not just online.
100%. Sterling advice, man. Sterling advice. So, finally then, this brings me to my last part of the show. And this is one of my favourite parts of the show because, you know, we've covered some of the most important topics. And I thank you for opening up and sharing your experiences with me, bro. This part of the show is all about having some fun. There is no right or wrong answer. At any point you can choose to pass. I don't think you're going to pass these, but we'll see. We'll see, all right? We'll see. So, quick fire questions. You ready for it?
Yeah, let's go.
Let's do this. If animals could talk, which species would be the rudest?
Ooh, hyenas.
Hyenas. I like it. If you could only eat one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Just go typical English, like spaghetti bolognese.
Ham, egg and chips.
Yeah, ham, egg and chips would be good as well.
If you could have one song that would play each time you entered a room for the rest of your life, what are we choosing?
Ooh, that's an hard one, man.
See, the audio tech lad said, like, I can choose a favourite song, but then it's going to become really fucking annoying every time that door opens.
Yeah.
But which should you choose?
Oh, that's a hard one, man. I'm so, like, I'm not only am I like a huge music head in every direction, but like I very much have like music for different feelings as well.
Okay.
So, I'm just gonna say, from like the chaotic life that I've lived so far, "Welcome to the Jungle" by Guns N' Roses, just because it feels like that's my life.
Love
really.
that. Look, that's a great answer, mate. That's a great answer. I love that. Okay, what's something that you've never done but really wanted to try and probably never will?
Oh God. Something I wanted to try but probably never will. That's an hard one, man.
Don't worry, you can pass. It's all good.
What would you say?
Oh, you're flipping it around.
Yeah, I'm doing a flip.
They call this reverse psychology, right? I can't answer it, so I'm going to flip it around on you. I don't know.
Yeah.
You know. Mate, right. I would absolutely love for the endorphins and the rush to jump out of a plane, but I never will do that because I am so scared of heights. It's unreal. Even to putting the felt across this roof, how ridiculous is that? I mean, look at it. It's not even that high, but I was all uneasy and like, I feel a bit lightheaded. And mate, I get seasick on a swing, bro.
Oh, really?
How mad's that? Like, kids love swings. I get seasick on swing. Anything like motion. But anyway, I'd love to jump out of a plane. Probably never will. So there's my answer. So let's flip it back to you, Touche.
Probably like, you know, when those like shark tanks when you can like get in a cage and like the sharks are swimming around you. Yeah. I've seen some risky videos on like Instagram. I wouldn't do that. Never do that.
All right, okay, that's a good one.
I'd like to though, but I don't think I ever will.
This is Nicky Blackmarket. You're in tune to the Dribbz Talks podcast. Keep it locked.
Right then, so pay attention to this one because this one you have to kind of visualize this one. I've had some really funny answers for this. You can choose to pass. There's no obligation, okay? Right, listen. Would you rather fight one horse-sized duck, so a duck that's the size of a horse, or 100 duck-sized horses? One horse-sized duck or 100 duck-sized horses?
100 duck-sized horses.
They all say that.
Yeah.
They all say that.
Just because you could just kick them. I feel like a big duck the size of a horse is gonna eat you up.
That's pretty scary, man. Pretty scary thought, isn't it? A duck the size of a horse, probably take over the world. Like, jeez. What's the weirdest dream that you've ever had that you remember really clearly?
Oh, when I was a kid, there used to be these series of books and I used to read, and they were like horror books.
Goosebumps.
Yeah, Goosebumps, man. Yeah.
I remember it, bro.
That's weird that you said that, man.
Was it? Who used to write them? Something Stein.
That's so weird that you said that.
R.L. Stein. R.L. Stein. I think it was R.L. Stein.
Yeah,
Goosebumps, bro.
Man, yeah.
And you know what? I forgot about Goosebumps. I completely until right now.
Yeah.
You just said kids book horror. It's gotta be Goosebumps.
Yeah, there was a
man.
book where like I remember I had one for Christmas once, and it was like a skull with like red lights, and it had like a little light on it, but it was like I swear they did like a TV show or something. No,
Yeah, they did. Nickelodeon did it, bro.
Yeah, that was it.
And then there was that one where they used to sit around the campfire. Was it called Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Yeah,
and
man.
They used to share their little
Yeah,
stories. And as a kid, you'd be like, okay, now that's scary.
Yeah, that shit gave me nightmares, man. That and like the Twilight Zone. I don't know if you ever remember that.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure it's probably the dream that I had came from that, and it was I was like in an attic, and I went to sit on like a carpet, and like I fell through like the carpet into some sort of like black universe. But I always remember it was just like this like dread of like falling, and then waking up. But I think I had that dream like multiple times as a kid. But I always remember that one.
There you go. Back to the days of Goosebumps, man.
Yeah, man, Goosebumps.
Jesus. I had a reoccurring dream for many, many years, and I haven't ever looked into it, but I always used to have the same dream. It's not that interesting, but every night I'd have the same, where I was falling down the stairs of my mom's house where I lived in Donington, but alongside me falling down the stairs and hitting every stair from top to bottom was a glass bottle that would come the side of me as well, and that would be hitting every step, and every time I hit that last step I'd wake up, and I get that dream every night.
Jeez.
I don't know if that means anything, I don't know, I've never looked into it, but pretty strange how it's just a reoccurring dream with this bottle coming the side of me. I don't know.
I mean, for both of us, probably something to do with like early onset of like anxiety, man.
Could 100%.
Be, man. Like I know, falling. I don't know if you're ever pulling your teeth out.
See, I've heard of that.
Yeah, that's quite a common anxiety dream where you look in the mirror and you're like your teeth are falling out, and then you wake up and you like generally think that you've like got no teeth.
God, that'd be my worst possible nightmare. If you could switch lives with someone famous for one day, who would it be?
So it'll be Stanley Kubrick. Who was a filmmaker. He made like films like The Shining and Clockwork Orange. He also had a fear of flying, which I've got a fear of flying. But probably him, because he was just such an incredible filmmaker, and his films were amazing. So I'd probably be him.
Okay, now then, this is another one that's a bit random. Would you rather always have to sing wherever you go, or have to dance wherever you go?
Yeah, sing.
Yeah?
Yeah, 100% sing.
Cool.
Yeah.
Have you got a good singing voice, Marcus?
I did actually used to sing when I was a kid. I sang up until I was
I thought your dad was going to disagree then. He kind of give it the look as if to say, I've heard him.
Yeah, I used to sing up until I was about 19, 20. I was in a few bands, to be fair. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Would you rather have a permanent clown nose or only be able to wear socks on your hands?
Socks on the hands, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So you know what, doing what you do with the videography and the photography, I think socks on your hands would probably be quite hard, but you know.
Yeah, I just don't think anyone would take me
seriously. With clown nose, they definitely wouldn't. They definitely wouldn't.
The socks wouldn't help.
But what's to say they take you seriously now?
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway, this is all about just that we've covered so much serious topics, so this is just a bit of light-hearted just to finish the podcast off. Now then. Would you rather time travel to the past and not be able to return, or time travel to the future and not be able to get back?
Yeah, definitely the past. I'd go back to like 1920 or something.
Armed with a camera.
Yeah, just to be like, I just love like the morals and ethics of like back then, just like gentlemen, like everyone's just like a lot more like, I don't know, it just seemed classy. I don't know why.
Yeah.
And there's something about the 1920s
compared to us riff-raff these days. I get it.
I just love that everyone used to wear a suit back then. Like I just want to wear a suit 24/7.
What's the weirdest talent you secretly have that no one knows about, which they're going to find out now?
Interesting. I mean, not many people know I'm a drummer. I drummed most of my like teenager. I started when I was about 13.
Amazing.
I do, like, me and Tom, like last year we used to, like, when we were in the office, when we had the music studio fully set up, we used to like if we got bored or we wanted to switch the day up a bit, we'd go have like a jam, and probably drums. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah,
did not know that. If you could live in any TV show, which one would you pick, and what role would you play?
It's got to be The Sopranos.
Thought it might be
Tony Soprano, big G man.
Absolutely. All right, and finally, if you could instantly become an expert of any random skill, which would you choose?
Probably just like multilingual. Like I'd love to be able to speak like 10 languages. I learned a bit of Spanish and stuff at school. Another thing that kind of annoys me about the schooling system is most people just got introduced to foreign languages too late. Whereas I spent a lot of time in Europe, and like you got like people over there like speak 2-3 languages because they get introduced when they're like 3-4 years old.
Yeah.
But I only got introduced to French when I was like 12, 13. But I'd love to be able to speak like multiple languages fluently. So yeah, probably that.
No, I get that. So that brings us to the end of the show.
Yeah, sweet.
Have you enjoyed it? Have you found
man,
it?
I've had really good fun, man. It's been really good.
Good. I like to aim with my guests that at times it's less about the actual recording and more about just hanging out and having a chat.
Yeah, man, definitely. Like, I think I got a bit nervous as well because I'm not used to like really openly talking, but this year I've really like said to myself like jump into some stuff that I'm not really that comfortable with, and that's hence why the acting and doing stuff like this, because I think it's important, and it's like kind of like in my head it's growth, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
so,
it's so important to step out of the box. It really is, just to prove to yourself that you can do these things.
100%.
So yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. Thank you for sharing some of the deep stories and just putting your life out there, because like I said, if you can help one person relate to some of the stuff you're saying and think, I've been through that, it's job done, in my opinion.
Yeah, cheers, man. Yeah.
And with these podcasts, they seem to be growing and growing, and we're having people from all over the world checking them out now, so it's getting more than just an idea. So thank you for joining me on this journey.
No, thank you for having me, man. Like I wouldn't have done this with anyone else, so I really appreciate it. And,
well, that means a lot. That means a lot. So all the usual stuff, guys. Subscribe, like, share. We're all trying to fight these algorithms. It's crazy. It's crazy out here. So just by you guys giving it a like and a share, it goes a long way for us trying to do this. So once again, it's been Marcus Hart from Eyesight Media, Dribbz Talks podcast. Keep it locked.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Dribbz Talks podcast. We're bringing it to you real, raw and uncut. A safe place where we can talk about anything and everything. So like, share and subscribe. But most importantly, keep it locked. Everything's gonna be just fine. Everything's gonna be okay. Just take one step at a time. That's what the leaflets say.